captivate me. Tell me now, you're the one I've been dreaming about for my whole life. Had you on my mind, oh. Hear the sound of your voice in the crowd, calling on the floor. Go slow, keep me falling for you all night. Tell me now, you're the one I've been dreaming about for my whole life. Had you on my mind, oh. Hear the sound of your voice in the crowd, calling my name, yeah, you captivate, oh. You captivate me. Cover me in a dream of love. You're pulling on my sanity, it does seems. I need you next to me. Can't get enough.
Hey everyone, welcome and welcome back if you've been here before. My name's Raquel. Welcome to our MMC Workshop Wednesdays. We're continuing our important June theme, social surge, and we'll be diving into how to strategically bring innovative tech products to market, ensuring they not only reach their intended audience, but also make a real difference. So as you're settling in, please feel free to drop in where you're joining from, and we'll wait for some more people to pop in. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. And for any of those of you who are new to Mentor Me Collective, we're a community dedicated to empowering individuals, especially first-gen techies, with the knowledge, skills, and tools they need to succeed in their tech careers, while also highlighting the positive impact technology can have on our lives and communities. Cool. So I'm going to give it a couple minutes. So let's let me introduce our speaker today. So our speaker today will be Ismael Brown. He's a highly accomplished senior product marketing manager with proven track record of launching impactful products and driving growth. So I'll bring him to the stage. Hey, Ismael, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Happy Wednesday.
Yes, happy Wednesday indeed. So glad we're off tomorrow, Juneteenth Slay. Very happy about that. So before we begin, we'll start things off with a little icebreaker to get to know more about you. So the question is, what initially drew you to the field of product marketing?
For me, it was about accepting a challenge that I hadn't necessarily overcome in my career as of yet. Entering the tech space was something that was a priority to me, just with the consideration of there were not too many individuals who looked like myself in that space at the time. So I was like, hey, I know I can do this. This is about, not only proving it to myself, but proving it to the corporate space that I can come in and also excel and bring, insurmountable amount of value.
Nice. Wow, that's awesome. How long have you been in the field for?
4 years now.
Wow, awesome. You're seasoned.
You just don't know.
Tech person. So you've seen some things.
Yes. Because, in the tech space, like what's true at 9 a.m. is not true at 9:02 a.m. So just the expediency of our industry, it goes that fast.
Yeah, that is so accurate. Things change so quickly. Cool. Thank you for that. So maybe in the chat, I'll say the chat warmed up. So we'll have Q&A after, but just guys get comfortable with the platforms. Can answer this question. What's one tech product that you believe has made a significant positive impact on the world and why? That's a fun one. Positive impact on the world.
Is that a question for you or general?
I think that's just a question for everybody, for the chat.
Okay.
Everybody. I'm trying to think of one for me. I can only think of negative. But there's definitely some positive ones.
I'm going to have to go with Uber Eats, kind of information as you will.
Lyft. I love me a good Lyft from the airport. Yeah. There are a lot of good mental health ones these days, like the therapist ones. I really like those, making therapy more accessible to people. That's been really good.
Calm is another good one, just as far as like exercising different breathing techniques. And I think as I've gotten older and kind of progressed through life with increased responsibilities and stressors, just understanding what the value is of actually breathing and how you just release stress in that particular vein, like it's really, really important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Especially like this day and age, like gotta take a couple deep breaths every time I open my phone. Like I'm like, okay. Yeah. Awesome. Video chats. Video chats is great. That is really great technology. I mean, it's allowing us to do this right now. That's a good one. Yeah, Zooms, Teams, FaceTime. That is pretty iconic. RIP Skype. But yeah, great technology. Cool. It's a great little chat to warm up. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, Ishmael, you can take it away. I don't want to take too much time away from presentation. So I'll give you the screen and yeah, it's all you.
Thank you. How do I add my presentation to the stage?
I gotcha. I'll do it for you.
Perfect.
And if anyone has questions, you can ask them in the chat during the presentation. We'll also leave time at the end to do Q&A. So just put them as they come. And if we don't get to them during the presentation, we'll come into them later. Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning, contingent on where you are in the world. I couldn't be more excited than to be here today, but I would be remiss if I didn't start by personally thanking Chanel for extending this opportunity, but also bearing with my slow response time in LinkedIn. So huge thank you for your patience and your grace. But this opportunity is something that I've actually been seeking out, just as far as sharing the knowledge and the expertise that I have. I understand the aspect of not keeping the door open, but literally tearing it off the hinges just to extend the information that I have and just being of service to a larger community. So again, thank you. Okay. Here we go. Sorry. So I have a very robust presentation today. What I promise you is going to be fun. That's what I'm going to bring today. High energy, expertise. I want to ensure that you walk away with not only learning something as far as a product marketing space, but learning about me as a human, because I think from a connection standpoint, that's what supersedes the information that you could either Google or you could ask someone else. It's just, how did the presenter necessarily make you feel and resonate with you on a personal level? So that's what I really aim to bring today. And I'm going to do that by telling a bit about my story, anchoring in essentially who I am as an individual and how that shows up in the scope of my day-to-day profession. Really unpacking what it means to be a product marketing manager. I think as it pertains to titles, they can be very convoluted. They can mean absolutely nothing, or they can mean something very grand. But without that context and explaining a bit further and unpacking it, it's kind of meaningless. And also going a layer deeper as far as showing you what are some of the work streams that I've had the privilege of building, developing, executing, from literally the idea to the inception, the implementation, and all the way through the analyzing of the effectiveness of said work streams. And I'll just conclude with how you can reach out to me following this respective presentation. So again, my name is Ismael Brown. I'm a senior product marketing manager within the tech industry. And I've been in this space for 4 years, but from a marketing perspective, my entire career has been anchored in this particular space. As far as, I'm going to date myself here, for the past 12 or 13 years, maybe. I could be losing count there, but I'm still young at heart. So when you think about the essence of, or when I think about the essence of what a product marketing manager is, I always tell people it's a storyteller at the end of the day, when removing all of the jargon from it and being mindful of not using marketing speak and really presenting something that is easily digestible across any respective space and audience. And a storyteller is someone who just has the understanding of who the audience is, how to develop an actual narrative consisting of characters, consisting of a plot, consisting of these challenges to show from a character development perspective, how does this individual get from point A to point B, and so forth and so forth. So with that, I actually am a published author, and truth be told, that's actually what helped me secure my job, just in going through my respective interview process, being able to articulate the steps taken in order to produce an actual physical book. Understanding just the different aspects of working with cross-functional teams, from editors, designers, and so forth. So I'm very proud of that work. It's something that no one had to ask me to do, and it really speaks to my willingness to be of service to my community. So that is titled My Own Worst Enemy, A Black Man's American Story, and it is available on Amazon. Next, I'm a cultural enthusiast. I absolutely love music. It was my first love and continues to be my first love. It's always there for me. It understands me. It relates to me. And just being an avid concert goer, festival goer, all of this aligns, and I actually bring this into my job. I'm a public speaker, whether it's from the professional setting, from a product marketing aspect, all the way through civic engagement and community enablement. So very adamant about being of service and utilizing my voice on these stages to really just bring people closer together. So I really have a deep passion for public speaking. And lastly, I'm a marketing professional. And what that looks like, I'll unpack later in these slides. Now, what does my role consist of as a product marketer? I really took some time to develop what this narrative is because I could have went in so many different directions, but I really wanted to develop a narrative that was concise and that wasn't full of jargon. So I really landed on these particular key three pillars, and it starts with messaging and positioning. Messaging from the aspect of going back to my previous slide, just being an author and understanding how to convey myself from an articulate standpoint, but taking these very complex and technical product innovations and finding a way to make it digestible across many different audiences, internally and externally. The positioning piece is having the wherewithal to understand and research different competitors. How do their products align as far as their offerings? What are the successes that they've achieved with their respective customers? And where does my company fit in the scope of that? Then there's sales enablement. What that means in layman's terms is being able to teach and educate on, again, these very technical product innovations, because essentially they're the ones that are getting it over the finish line to literally sell these, the latest and greatest with our products. And lastly, content, strategy, and execution. This takes many different forms and shapes, from public speaking engagements at first-party events, third-party events, deck development, demo, storyboarding, customer video production, podcast production. The list goes on and on and on. And this is probably the favorite part of my job, if I might say so. I kind of toggle between messaging and content execution because, one, I literally just love to read and write. And then the other piece is there's another side of my brain that loves to create and take these very ominous ideas and give them life and give them a story that can be related to across the various audiences that I speak to. But at the end of the day, I always ensure to do my job with a smile and to have fun, because this is representative of how I want to show up in my professional setting. Yes, it's a job, but it doesn't mean that it has to be this regimented, boring thing. And I'm ensuring to always bring my personality on stage, on camera, through different video elements that my leadership chain is always supportive of, no matter how crazy the idea is. They literally pour fuel on it. And I recognize that this is something that not everyone is extended in their professional space. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to allow my personality to shine through every particular work stream that I take ownership of. Now, I wanted to level set on a very basic definition of what a product marketing manager is. And I went to Old Faithful, known as Google, to really source what that definition is. And it starts by saying product marketing is a strategic function focused on bringing products to market and ensuring their success. And when I read this, I was like, what is this exactly saying? If this was my grandmother and I was trying to explain to her what my job function was, would she understand it? And frankly, the answer is no, because this is just too high level. And I sat with it some more and I was like, well, there is something actually to pull out of this. There are two components in which I actually structured the next particular phase of my presentation on. And it's bringing products to market, which is very key. And I have a phased approach in which I will highlight and walk through. And it's ensuring their success. This one is something I can admit does keep product marketers up at night, just as far as the success component, because oftentimes you can take ownership of things that are beyond your scope and frankly that are out of your control. So what I did was I took the time to actually think through how could I articulate the ensuring success component. But before we get there, let me walk you through exactly in my role how I bring products to market. In this phased approach, it starts with alignment with your stakeholders. Your stakeholders, for me, consist of sales leadership, industry advisors, product product developers, and engineers. In those meetings leading up to a product launch, it's a matter of understanding what's on the particular product roadmap, and that is actually built out across 3 different releases. So just to give you a tangible timeline, if we have a release scheduled for the summer, we're planning out for winter, spring, and the following summer in these meetings. And what this does is it gives an opportunity for all of these different stakeholders to bring forth what they're hearing directly from customers, what conversations have been had, what current products that are generally available, what updates need to be made as far as if you have an iPhone and iOS, whatever number they're on currently, if it's just a patch fix in comparison to a whole new innovation. So all of those discussions are happening during those alignment meetings. And from there, as a product marketer, I take that next step and build out the go-to-market strategy. This is everything from identifying, working backwards from the launch date to identify, okay, I need to schedule these different meetings to start sourcing additional insights from the product team to align on the naming of the innovation, what is the actual functionality, and again, taking that very technical jargon and making it easily digestible and understandable across different audiences. From there, I take that language, it goes through an approval process from a naming convention just to ensure that legally all of the bases are covered. There is not another product team that has something that's similarly named from a nomenclature perspective. So it goes through a lot of approvals from that particular stage. So the messaging aspect, identifying the different distribution channels. Okay, what external channels need to be updated? The website, all digital real estate assets, from how are we showing up on LinkedIn? How are we showing up across different third-party vendors? I work in the media and entertainment industry specifically. So that's Adweek, that's, I'm blanking on vendors right now, but just an example, Adweek, I'll kind of stop there. Those are things that I have to be mindful of to ensure that this messaging is going to align and be effective. Then there's the demos, being able to build a storyboard in alignment with a product innovation that's not currently available, but working very closely with the product team and the engineers to get that information, to obtain those screens, go through those recordings, doing the voiceovers for them to walk audiences through exactly what they're seeing across these different screens. Because when it comes to software, you have to be very intentional around how you're messaging and positioning these things. And that same thing holds true as it pertains to the demos. Identifying what are the pain points that are actually being addressed, what business value can be returned as a result of these latest innovations, and identifying what are the key performance indicators as far as the effectiveness of this particular strategy and the effectiveness of these latest product innovations. From here, the next phase is field enablement. In my company, we have what are called solution engineers. These are the individuals that are accompanying our sellers directly in customer meetings, and they're giving the demos right in the context of the respective industry that that customer represents. And it's also demonstrating you have shared, as a customer, you have expressed and shared what your pain points are directly to our sellers. Here's how we're addressing them through the product. So it gives them that real deal feel as far as the effectiveness of it. So I work with solution engineers, architects, and sellers, and I present to them what the latest and greatest innovations are. I'm accompanied by the product managers, and I'm also accompanied by engineers to really get into the weeds of things. I have a technical depth, but I can only go so far as a product manager, but that's the joy of collaboration. Then from here, it's the external release webinar. This is where we would invite select few customers who have demonstrated themselves as friendly, but also as open to testing out the latest innovations. So we'll present to them in the same format as far as like, here's the demo, here's the pain points that it solves, here are the actual business results that can be generated from it, whether it's growing revenue, operating more lean, increasing your efficiency, scaling your productivity, or freeing up your human reps to partner and work very closely with AI agents to augment the efforts of your human reps. And this gives them the ability to focus on more revenue generating activities. So those calls and those meetings are always super interesting because the customer, they don't have a horse in the race, and they're going to be very candid with their feedback, and being able to port that information over directly to the product team and the engineers. So either adjustments can be made or this feedback can be incorporated in the roadmap for future releases. And then lastly, the big sigh of relief, a big like, oh my gosh, it's finally out. There's the launch. And that's going live with all of those external facing assets. Now, here's the one that, like I said, it does keep product marketing managers up at night, ensuring success. Well, you have to take the time to assess the definition of success, and that's beyond the professional space. That's in life as well. Because if you just really anchor yourself around something that's so ambiguous, you'll be chasing shadows. So a way to really kind of define this is through key performance indicators. What are they? How are you determining the effectiveness of it? For me, I've found a lot of value of plugging directly into deal cycles and building a strong rapport with sellers. If I know seller John is selling the product that I predominantly work on, I'm going to do my due diligence to get a very deep understanding as far as what customers are in your patch, where are you in these respective deal cycles, as far as are you on the front end from a first call, or are you at the stage of demoing and starting to integrate partners and so forth? Because I want to be able to ensure that the sellers have everything they respectively need in order to get this deal across the line. That admittedly is me going above and beyond, but this is something that I was taught from a mentor of mine at my company, and it has really served me in a very positive way as far as building out my respective prowess within the industry and building out my network across sellers, because sellers are very integral to what we do. And then lastly, is just being able to review the analytics on a regular basis. Developing a regimented time period to start assessing the effectiveness of these things that have launched and gone to market, whether it's a marketing campaign, how many clicks on a demo are there, how many downloads, how many form comps have been filled out, how many requests for a meeting as a result of these assets that have gone live. So that's just a few of the ways that I've identified to measure success. Now, how do these particular elements show up in my day-to-day role? Here's where it gets fun, I promise, and interesting. And it starts with the messaging and positioning. So because I love writing and that's my background, I have the distinct honor of owning the website copy for the respective product that I work on. And this is something that has to be updated on a routine basis. As I alluded to earlier, having bantered with Raquel, what's true at 9 a.m. in this industry is not going to be true at 9:02 a.m. So just being that in the know constantly, you have to really anchor yourself in being an effective listener, asking the questions that you don't have the answers to, and not being afraid to have a beginner's mindset at all times. But the other component there is being abreast as far as what's happening across your industry, doing your own due diligence and research, checking on various media outlets and reading up on what competitors are doing, reading through research studies. It's a lot of reading. I know. So this better informs the copy that I'm developing and also allows me to have the level of expertise to say, hey, this is where we're going. But it's also anchored in being able to ladder up directly to the corporate narrative. Where are we going as an organization, and how am I bringing that messaging directly into this industry specific lens that I work on, to where it's not this one size fits all. It actually relates to the people that are working in the media and entertainment industry. Now, sales enablement. Again, this is more so around the aspect of creating the spaces and the different, whether it's a webinar or there are just various meetings, to really educate the field members on what these innovations are. And it really takes form in a multitude of different ways. So I'll show you one, as far as being able to develop out assets that they can go leverage in customer conversations. And it comes in the form of these slides that I'm going to just breeze through. I take the time to update these regularly in accordance to, again, where our industry is, being able to pull forward the value, demonstrating, taking screens directly from the product so they can have access to understand, like, okay, how effective is this? What are the functionalities? But then just pulling out the value add from a user perspective of what you can actually do with these products. And that's what you see on your screen. And then just really leveraging metrics. I think success metrics are important. The only thing with numbers, you have to be mindful that you can manipulate the narrative of the numbers in any respective format. So you have to give the context as far as what do these numbers actually mean. And here's, again, I kind of go back and forth between messaging and positioning and the content strategy and execution as far as my favorite part. And I think everyone here would agree this is probably his favorite. Just being able to connect with people goes a long way. For me personally, I obtain a lot of energy from being on stage and being able to interact with customers, partners, my teammates, and also just audience members, because there's so much to learn through conversation and just asking questions and just comment engagement. So being hired to my company during the pandemic, naturally, there's this work from home mandate that everyone's abiding by. But the other component is I'm the only person on my team on the East Coast. So I see my teammates maybe twice a year. So you could imagine there's generally going to be some excitement of like, oh, I get to see you. This is great. And I'm able to exude that energy on stage, in which I'm very thankful that public speaking doesn't scare me. So I'm often on stage, and I'm often on what we call on demand. And this on-demand particular asset is the ability to sit in front of a desk, just like your Good Morning America, your everyday news station, and being able to build out a narrative and a script that pertains to a particular content anchor that is top of mind for our industry, and being able to walk through the audience as far as where we are, assessing and highlighting that we understand where you are as an organization from the challenges that you're enduring, being able to position the product as far as we have a solution in place to help you mitigate those business challenges, and concluding with real world examples from a customer story perspective, because that always bodes well. And it gives audience members the opportunity to see whether competitors or whether peers within their industry find success and leveraging this respective technological platform. Another form in which that takes is just having the opportunity to build out scripts and storyboards for customer videos, which is super fun. Working on the production side. And again, I'm empowered by my leadership team to just think big. Think beyond the scope of those three pillars that I introduced earlier, whether it's messaging and positioning, sales enablement, content strategy and execution. Well, I actually want to plug in on the video production side. I see that we have this respective team that focuses here. Let me go put an industry lens on it and show, again, this real world example through a customer story video. I actually had it linked in here, but for some reason it wouldn't play. So I do apologize, but I'll be sure to share a link after the fact so you all can kind of check it out. This is probably one of my favorite work streams that I've ever done throughout my tenure at my company, because it allowed me the creative freedom to go work with a customer in which I actually have somewhat of proximity to. Working within the media and entertainment industry, we have 13 subverticals across broadcasters, publishers, streamers, sports and live entertainment, sports betting, the list goes on, agencies. So it gives an opportunity for my days to never mirror each other. And I find privilege in that because I'm tackling a new challenge on a day-to-day basis. And I'm also thinking through, how can I manipulate this language or massage this language and this messaging to relate directly to this subvertical that I'm serving. And with the Orlando City Soccer Club, I went to the University of Central Florida. It's based somewhere where I had great familiarity with. So it was like a great homecoming for me. And purple is my favorite color. So I just thought it was a match made in heaven. So it was just a great time and a great opportunity to exercise another part of my skill set and my abilities as a creative. Then there's the research report element and being able to take raw data, or let me take a step back, build out an outline, identify the segments that I would love feedback from, or their particular expertise, their particular experience within the space to be able to inform this research, identifying what markets that I want to hear from globally, because we have a global purview, and being able to assess which respective POVs we want to hear from, whether it's the C-suite, it's directors, it's mid-level managers, being able to literally customize this entire spectrum to get the insights that are needed to not only show us as thought leaders, but to inform the assets that we create around this that can be disseminated across audiences. And it's not just serving our customers, it's serving other industry experts outside of the organization and so forth. So that's what I got the opportunity to do. And that led to looking through mountains and mountains and mountains of data. But the challenge that I was presented with, a very healthy challenge, might I add, is being able to take that outline, understand those segments that are providing insights and sharing their experience, looking at how they're answering these questions, and now being able to flush out what this narrative is. What is the story I want to tell? See how everything goes back to being a storyteller? It's all intertwined, because when you look at raw numbers, it can only tell you a segment of what you're looking for. You have to be able to author and give context to what those numbers represent, what they mean, and actually where you want to take them. So that's the upside of having to look through mountains upon mountains upon mountains of data. Generally, it's one of those things where your eyes start to cross within themselves. But again, I found the joy in knowing that there's a story here that I could bring to life, and through visual representation, it will actually pop and it'll permeate through the different audiences that we serve. So that's another segment of my job. And with that, I know I've talked a lot, but that is the actual conclusion of my presentation. What I've done here, I've actually I've actually added a URL to my LinkedIn, try not to use link twice, here where you can contact me, ask me any follow-up questions. I am here as a resource. Again, I'm very thankful to the Mentor Me Collective and Chanel for reaching out. This was an incredible opportunity. And with that, I look forward to fielding any questions that anyone may have.
Cool. Thanks, Ishmael. It was a great presentation. Clap, clap, clap. Yeah, we did have some questions in the chat while you were talking. So let's go back a little bit. I think the first one is by Zen Ma. Here we go. Hi, Ishmael. I've been hearing a lot about product marketing lately. How does the day-to-day work of a product marketing manager differ from product manager? Thanks. Good question.
Excellent question. So product managers are literally focusing on the building and the developing of the product. As a product marketing manager, my role is facilitated on how do I go to market with this product? How do I build the awareness around this product and ensure that the articulation of the value of this product, of what a product manager is building, is conveyed and coming through across these various assets. Again, from deck development, sales enablement, going to third-party events, going to first-party events, customer videos, and so forth. Like the list goes on and on and on. So that one is an excellent question because people don't have that delineation often. So product managers, again, just to kind of close, they're literally hands-on with the product, working with the engineers, working with the Scrum teams. They're building out the respective roadmap as far as where's this product going in the next 3 releases. They're meeting directly with customers. They're holding and facilitating what are called product advisory boards, or PABs, product advisory council, in which they're meeting very intimately with customers who are willing to provide direct feedback in a private setting as far as like, hey, this is what I'm seeing from the product. Here's what I would like to see because it's currently not there. And they're pitching their ideas in which product managers are taking into consideration and flushing out and starting to prioritize across that entire roadmap. As a product marketing manager, I am singing the praises of the work that the product managers are building and doing and just putting it into market.
Gotcha. Wow, it's a really good answer. Cool. Have you ever had interest in like being a product manager, or are you always kind of into product marketing? It's your vibe.
All. That is a completely different side of the brain, and I have such deep respect and acumen for those individuals who have that technical depth. That is not my ministry.
Noted. Cool. Thank you for that question. Move to the next one. Said, hey, I'm a scholar. How do you approach managing competitors?
Managing, could you elaborate from what particular aspect?
Yeah. Any extra elaboration on that comment, on that question? We can come back to it.
Or what I could do, I could provide how I do pay attention to competitors. Yeah. It's a major component of my job, just understanding what's currently in market. How do I differentiate this messaging that is truthful to what the product can do? And just being aware, like awareness and knowledge is power in this space. I can't iterate enough how fast paced this industry is. So it's to my wherewithal and to my best interest to know exactly what competitors are doing. As far as what ideas have kind of snuck out into the world, whether it's through a podcast with their CEO or product manager, or it's me looking at CNBC, like there's a lot of work that is done outside of the scope of working hours that are entailed in informing how I go back to my stakeholders and be like, hey, here's what X, Y, and Z company is doing. Here's how they're thinking about it. Here's how they're positioning it. Here is my recommendation on how we could position or how we could leverage or counter this particular thing. And we also have internally, we have a competitive analysis team where their entire function is just to research and study what competitors are doing. And they're passing that information along to product marketing managers so we can leverage those insights in the assets that we develop.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's really important to stay on trends and like seeing what other people are doing, just so you, keeping up with what's going on. Stuff moves so fast. But it's nice that you have a team to take care of that for you.
Yeah, and they're great to work with.
All.
They're super great to work with. I admire what they do because they're literally getting into the weeds of competitors, and from a component to a value add piece, like there's a lot that they have to sift through.
Yeah, that's so real. Thanks for that. It's a good question. Another one. Someone was asking if you have a podcast.
I have a podcast.
You
That's
want to
such
make
a
one?
that's such a loaded question because I actually am working on one. So
Oh,
there's the announcement. Coming
stay
soon.
tuned.
No particular date, but coming soon.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, stay tuned.
These are great questions, by the way.
Let's see. Someone asked if you could share that entertainment and AI trends report that you shared. It'll also be in the recording from the webinar, but yeah, I don't know if you maybe have a link to it or something.
Absolutely.
And let me share your LinkedIn.
And I'm so happy someone asked about that report because I worked really hard on that report. So
It looked great. Okay, and then moving along, where's the next questions? Another question. Yeah, where are the LinkedIn questions? I'm not seeing a lot of LinkedIn questions on my view, so let me just check real quick to make sure I'm not missing anything. One moment, please. We have extra time for questions. This is good. Oh, okay. A question from Julia that's not showing up here for some reason. What classes did you take to learn how to translate numbers into storytelling?
No classes, honestly. I think it's a great question, but no classes. I think what served me well in that space is flushing out an outline, knowing what I wanted to pull from the data. And this, even from a timeline perspective, was before the research had actually began. So I worked with a third party vendor. I presented them with what I wanted this research to entail from a narrative perspective. And we took that outline, and the next phase was flushing out what questions to ask across the different roles, C suite, directors, mid managers, and there was one other particular function. So taking that outline was my North Star and guiding light. The questions were predicated on literally what is the information that I need to know, or that our audience needs to know about where the industry is, where it's going, what are the pain points, how are they approaching aggregating their data. Data is such a major discussion point right now. I know AI is getting all of the attention, but your AI platform is super ineffective without your data being clean, without it being aggregated. So to take a step back, it was very imperative that I understood where these organizations were from a data strategy perspective. And what you'll find in that report is there are organizations still trying to sift through that. So what that informs us from the standpoint of, like, we do have a data centric product called Data Cloud. This is opportunity to position that at the forefront and start articulating the value add of, we have a deeply unified platform that can literally source everything. I'll use a sports organization, for example. There's ticketing data, there's concessions data, there's parking data, there is sponsorship data, merchandise, there's phone, mobile application data, there's website data, there's marketing data, the list goes on. But if your organization doesn't holistically have access to that, it creates a lot of silos, it creates slower time to value, missed opportunities for cross-sell and upsell, and it creates a lot of issues internally. Because if you're a service rep and there's a customer on the line that's trying to talk to you about this process they went through to acquire season tickets, you have no access to that conversation, what package they purchased, where their seat is, because that data is siloed and it's living in different systems. So with this deeply unified platform, everything is in one location because it can unify these different legacy systems. It can source from data lakes everything in one unified place. And that's what's going to better inform your AI platforms and actually give more value to any autonomous agents that you may be leveraging.
That was a really good answer. That was a good question also. Yeah, it's really important to have like not only like being able to storytell, but like having all your partners working from the same data, you know, making data-driven decisions. I think it's really important, and like sharing, you're all working off the same, you know, source of truth and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. That's a good question. I think there's a little bit of a lag for the LinkedIn question, so thank you, Chanel, for sharing that. I'll do one more from LinkedIn that I see, and then we'll go back to the YouTube questions. What skills would you recommend starting to develop for folk wanting to get into the field?
Excellent question. It's a combination of skills I recommend. Oh, man. Ooh, excellent question. Where do I start? Identifying the respective industry you want to work in, the company you want to work for, because that'll inform you. Again, you want to be mindful as it pertains to how you position yourself and the value that you bring. How can you fill gaps for this organization? So identifying what their gaps are is going to be something that you can leverage, and you can start building your respective case as far as like, okay, here's somewhere where I can bring immense value, and start thinking through the experience that you already have and how those transferable skills can be applied to this. From there, it's a lot of reading. I can't emphasize the power of equipping yourself with information, constantly educating yourself on the frequent changes that are happening. I can't tell you how much time I spend on CNBC, Business Insider, NPR, like the list goes on. And there are some podcasts that I'm actively listening to, because that knowledge literally is power. And I know that's an old adage that all of us have heard time and time again, but it has so much validity in this space. So really just arming yourself with that information. I would also encourage, there are a lot of free certifications that you can obtain in product marketing directly, whether it's through an application called Trailhead. It's completely free. It's a gamified approach where you can go on here and kind of search through different products, different industries, and you can get a real deal understanding and feel as far as how these products work. And it's actually fun. And I think that's the really unique aspect of it. You can do it on your phone, you can download the mobile app, or you can do it online, and just really obtain these certifications. But just be mindful of being intentional about which certifications you're obtaining, because I think oftentimes we can mistake being purposeful, or excuse me, we can mistake being busy for being purposeful. You can fill your time with a lot of things that are not going to serve you, but you have to be intentional on giving guidance to how you're spending your time and what certifications you're obtaining. Think through, how can this be leveraged? How can I ensure that I'm using this so you're not wasting your own time just racking up certifications?
Gotcha. Yeah, that's actually really important about like being plugged in, transferable skills, and yeah, certs, and just knowing what to do, what to get, what to study. Well, thanks for that. That was really insightful. Thanks for the question, Lexi. Going next, scroll back up. Oh, this is a good one. Have you ever overcome product failures? It's a loaded question.
These questions are great. Kudos to you guys. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the actual value of it. Just give you a little insight on my ideology and how I perceive the world. I either win or I learn. Losing is not a thing. Failure is not a thing, because there are lessons that can be leveraged through these undesirable outcomes that can inform the blueprint for the next attempt. So it's no different with a product. Well, hey, we thought this would be effective. It's not. living up to the KPIs that we established, but what did we actually learn from it? And you do those postmortems, you be very honest, and you start seeking the feedback directly from people who are utilizing the product. Why did they feel as if it was ineffective? And it's like, oh, okay, cool. All of this is informing the blueprint for the next step. So that's the best way I can describe overcoming that.
Yeah, every failure is an opportunity to like grow. We had a really good workshop Wednesday actually last week on experimentation, and I think that definitely ties in. Like you want to fail fast and early, so you know what not to do next time and what you should do next time. So
And just to add to that, if I may, and sorry to cut you off,
no.
This is the best advice I can give. If you don't hear anything else I said today, do not be afraid to be a beginner.
Yep.
Have a beginner's mindset and don't feel the imposter syndrome around, do I belong in this space? Do I have value to add? I'm here to tell you 1000% you do. Here's why, because these people that are in these spaces have tunnel vision because they've just been in seat for so long, and it's natural. It's not an indictment on who they are as individuals. All of us can speak to different aspects of our life where we know this and we continuously operate in that space. But the privilege of someone who has a beginner's mindset, they can expand perspective. They can ask questions that you may not necessarily have perceived, or questions that you may not have necessarily given yourself the space to think through. And that's what a beginner's mindset can do from a value add perspective.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, growth mindset is so important because, like, yeah, if you've been working in place for a long time, you're just thinking the same way as everybody else. So it's always great to have some new talent and just new perspectives. That's usually what pushes people forward. Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, and last week's Workshop Wednesday was about the growth mindset and experimentation. So if you're interested more in that topic, I'd definitely go back to that one as well. It's on our YouTube and LinkedIn. Another question. Hi, Ishmael. With the expansion of AI and new apps always being developed, how do PMMs stay updated on market trends and competitive landscapes to continuously refine product messaging? Kind of touched on this before, but anything else you want to add from before?
Research reports from the big consulting firms, Deloitte, PwC, they're constantly churning out these reports that are given the latest and greatest from an industry perspective. Those are phenomenal assets. Some people like to refer to them as Bibles, just because of the value add that they bring, the insights that are shared, the data points that can be sourced and that you can start adding to your lexicon. As far as when you show up to different spaces and different meetings, you are informed with this information that you can go add value to these discussions and push them further along because it's anchored in something that has validity. So those research reports mean so much to me. They help me in a lot of ways. Business Insider, NPR, CNN Business. There are a few podcasts that I listen to. I'm blanking on names right now. They're just kind of saved in my phone. And just follow the respective tech leaders. Where are they at? Who are they talking to? And I think there's so much value in that because they'll tell you exactly where they're planning to take their organization and their respective plan for AI. Because here's the beauty of it. AI is not a new technology by any means. It's been around for a very, very, very long time. And I think most people have forgotten that or may not have been aware. But I'll give you a very easy and tangible example. 99.9% of people in this chat probably have some form of a streaming service. When you are surrendering behavioral data, hey, you watch this show, hey, you watch this movie, let me give you some recommendations. That's predictive AI. And it goes back even further than that. And I think, was it 2 years ago with the emergence of ChatGPT that kind of created a firestorm of, oh my gosh, look what AI can do. And now we're in the third wave with autonomous AI. And trust and believe, the fourth wave is soon to follow. So with AI, you just have to be very intentional on learning about it, augmenting what you're currently doing, because just like with any technological advancement, if you don't learn how to leverage it, you can be locked out. And that's not necessarily something you want to be on that side of history. You want to ensure that this is something that you could utilize, not depend on, but just something that you can leverage.
Yeah, I think that's a really good mention. Like AI is going to augment like so many roles, and it already has started. Like even in my role as a software engineer, using Copilot and like Cody and things like that to help me code. And, I might not want to, but gotta learn, it happens. And yeah, tech moves so fast. You gotta keep up with the trends.
And I'll add this: learning is a lifestyle.
Yep.
The moment you make a conscious choice to stop learning, you need to ask yourself some other questions, because your brain is built and designed to be curious. Ask all the questions. There are some people who say they're dumb questions. I just don't believe that. I think that's more so about an impatience than anything else. But again, have a beginner's mindset and always be curious. If you want to understand how something works, break it. Put it back together. YouTube University is one of the greatest colleges in the world.
You can learn anything on there.
You can learn anything.
Literally.
It's literally free. Go on there and start understanding how these things work.
Yeah. +1 with that. Double click whatever the word is, whatever the corporate speak is, to like +1 react to the chat. Cool. We are running low on time, but I think we still have a couple we can get to real quick. I'll do like 2 or 3 more. What obstacles have you had to overcome during your journey?
So I actually know who submitted this question. This is my family. Our family. I love the way they support me. Obstacles, and they're plenty every single day. And that's the joy of having good discernment, good family members, good grounding as far as, again, like I said, I don't believe in losing. It's either I won or I lost. So just having a very firm mindset, and I'm also a faith-based individual. God is the head of my life. So just, kind of leading through that and understanding that there's nothing I can't overcome. And I think oftentimes we may perceive something as a closed door, as like, oh, it's not going to work. But once you take the time to kind of sit with that door being closed, and also understanding everything isn't for you. Because I challenge anybody on this call, tell me what in your life went as planned. So once you are able to relinquish control over that particular aspect, you have more mental capacity to start navigating through this with a little bit more peace and a little bit more fearlessness. Because I think the other component which really cripples a lot of people is paralysis analysis, trying to make the perfect decision, trying to score the perfect answer and all these different things, when the only right answer is just go do it. Go get in the field, go obtain the experience, go break something, go challenge status quos, go kick the can. But when you sit and overanalyze, time starts to pass, and that aspect of, was I even willing to go do it? Because regret is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think learning a lesson or regret, oh, let me go learn this lesson, it's an easier thing, because you don't want to walk through this life asking yourself, what if? No, go do it.
Yeah. 100% agree. I think it's so important to be like spiritually grounded, and also just like being confident in like life, and like, everything's going to happen. You can't stop, a train from happening, but you'll learn something from it. It'll make you a better person for it. And there's always a lesson to learn, kind of what we're talking about before with failures. Like, there's a lesson in everything, and it'll just make you better. Cool. That's an awesome question. Thank you so much to the family. That was a great insight. I'm like, wow, my heart, I'm in church right now. Oh my God. Anyway, I think one more question. Let's see. This one was mentioned a little earlier, so I don't want to lose it. And this will be our last one. Thank you so much for the great questions, everyone.
Yes.
Someone asked about, they joined late, but they're interested looking into brand activations and its intersection with product marketing. Where do you recommend they get started?
Ooh, that's also a great question because brand is not under the umbrella of product marketing. And with brand activations, that literally there's a team called brand, and they really work with bringing certain elements of the product to life or working directly with other organizations to bring it to life. We actually just had one at an event last week working with a major sports team where, to my surprise, on the floor was a basketball court. It had jerseys, and I was like, oh, snap, that's a pretty cool brand activation. But what also was, a part of that activation, it showed how they're leveraging our platform to achieve business success. So that's an example of where those two worlds can kind of come together. So from a product marketing perspective, that team had to work, the brand team had to work with product marketing to understand what that customer story is, what products they're using, what demo could they show to give a little bit more validity to, okay, cool, here's how this sports organization is leveraging this technology to achieve, these respective business goals.
Gotcha. Cool. Good to know. I know nothing about like brand activation, product marketing, so I'm learning so much.
Oh man, brand
Awesome.
activation is super cool.
Yeah. I love some good merch too. Awesome. Thank you guys for the great questions. We are at time. Thank you so much, Ishmael, for the amazing gems and insights. I think we're all very inspired and learned a lot today. And everyone go out and do the thing, have a growth mindset, live life. You can't live life, in your bed. Just go outside, breathe some air, touch some grass, and learn everything you need to know on YouTube University. Yeah. Thank you so much. Any last words, Ishmael, before we hop off?
Again, just thank you. And I just kind of want to double click on some adversity. So this is important. In my career, I've been fired. I've been laid off in consecutive roles, but none of that stopped me from achieving greater on the other side. So you're going to be faced with adversity in your life. Don't give up. Continue to be a beginner. Continue to understand that you have values. You have value and will add value to any and every space that you are willing to go be a part of. So go outside.
Snaps to that. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And thank you if you're joining this in the future. Thank you for watching the playback. Bye, everybody.